welcome to another edition of Treasure Tuesday, our final edition of the year. I am so inspired. You know why? Because check it out. It's snowy where I am. I'm so happy. I'm a Florida girl who lives in California, and I'm in Colorado, and it's snowy. Look. Oh my God, this is so cool. Oh my God, I'm like tempted to just fall back in the snow. Okay, so hi. Welcome. I'm so excited to say Happy New Year to you, even if the new year hasn't come yet. It's in a few days. And I also want to deeply honor you. Oh my God, I really want to run through this snow right now. It's so enlivening. I want to honor you. Before getting into this powerful video. What? I'm honoring you. You know why? Because you watch these videos. And if you watch my videos, you are on the path of transformation, you're on the path of inspiration, you're on the path of awakening and embodying and choosing to live in your full potential. That, my friends, takes courage, and you have radical courage. You're brave, you're beautiful, you're powerful, you are amazing. Transformation requires releasing one thing in order for a new thing to birth. Just like the caterpillar has to trust that total radical death and not knowing what's going to happen from there, the butterfly emerges, right? It's like we're constantly being called to this deep trust. Look how cool these are. I love nature. It's like a microphone. Ah! So I just want to honor you and invite you to really honor yourself. Honor yourself right now. Take a deep breath in. No matter what is happening in your life right now, may you acknowledge your soul for continuously getting back up, moving forward, choosing to be inspired, choosing to say yes to life, living in the mystery, not really knowing what in the world lies ahead, but knowing that something deep and rich has got your back, because that is the nature of life. Life is infinite, and nature shows us this, and I've made many videos on this, but we see the infinite supply in nature. We see that no two things are exactly the same. There is just an abundant supply. No two snowflakes are the same, right? No two people, no two trees. So this is an abundant universe that's constantly evolving, expanding, and blooming. And you are the same. We are the same. So I just send you so much love from my heart and a deep Happy New Year to you. And today's treasure tool, I'm really excited to share with you because it's so powerful. It came through for me in a meditation very spontaneously, and I've been using it ever since. It's an evening meditation that you can use to clear your day, but we're going to use it today to prepare for an amazing 2016. And I'm not going to go through the whole meditation with you. I'm actually going to just give you the steps. So I invite you to get out a pen and your journal. It is really simple, but it's something that you're going to benefit from tremendously. So the first thing I want to say before I get into the treasure tool is, other than you're amazing, is that, every single spiritual guide has basically been trying to show us and tell us throughout all of these years, thousands of years actually, on the yogic path, and all of these saints and gurus and amazing souls, right? Awakened masters. They've all been saying the same thing, and it's ultimately that life is happening. It is perfect as it is. We are all one. And the only thing that separates us and brings agony to our lives is some idea that what's happening in the moment is not supposed to be happening. Some argument with life, fighting with reality, thinking that we know what's best, living in this separate reality like this me, where I know what's best and it should be this way. That's what causes suffering. On the other hand, what causes liberation is to have an awake consciousness. And what does that mean? We hear that all the time, on the path of awakening, waking up. Really, the only difference between someone who is awake and someone who is asleep, spiritually speaking, is somebody who is awake, or let's say somebody who's asleep, is basically moving through life fighting against reality, blaming other people for the misery or blaming oneself for the misery, and just really living in a mental construct of life, labeling everything, judging this as right, that is wrong, fighting against life, guarding against, all the enemies out there and the this and the that. Somebody who is awake takes full responsibility for what they're feeling, on the other hand. It's not about being perfect, it's just about choosing to know that the reality, the only truth, lives in this moment. As my teacher, Leonard Jacobson, says, he says it in like a very simple sentence, and it's escaping me right now. But outside of this moment, there is no truth outside of this moment, is what he says. So it's just really, an awake person is deeply trusting the present moment, isn't caught in the past, caught in the future, and is living this full responsibility, rather than blaming other people for upset and trying to fix or control or change what's happening out there, to do the inner, to come into this deeply surrendered, trusting, awake, aware space. Yeah, just like, it's like the difference, I'd say, between an awake person and an asleep person is an asleep person is walking around carrying a lot of baggage, lugging it around, fighting. Life is really difficult from that place because it's like holding all these belief systems and judgments and what's right and what's wrong and all these battles and old resentments and future fears and anxieties and all that. And an awake person may have, the substance and the stuff that they're carrying, but along the way, they're just snipping away and just releasing a lot of those baggages, a lot of those bags, a lot of those unnecessary binds that are very cumbersome and limiting. So, and a fully awakened master is just free, doesn't have any of that stuff. And I'm actually sitting with one of those myself here in Colorado right now, and it's really beautiful to witness someone so clean and pure, like such a clean soul. And it's inspiring to see, like, he gave me a book this morning to read, and I started reading it, and it was from his guru, his teacher, and what his guru said is every single human being has the potential to be fully and entirely peaceful, regardless of outer circumstances. And how beautiful is that to know that we all have that ability. So this treasure tool is to help us just a little bit release the binds, the sleepy state, wipe the sleep from our eyes, and just remember how amazing life is and how amazing each of us are, and that deep at the center of our beings, that fully awake state is totally available right now. It's like it's always there. It's just what's obscuring that state, and that's what we keep doing, right? It's just releasing those barriers, like Rumi talks about. Our task is not to seek for love, but to seek and find all of the barriers that we have built against it. Oh God, I'm just giving you a huge embrace right now, because I feel so much love in my heart. So much love. Okay. Holy morale. And by the way, I say this, I get so triggered on these when I'm staying with the guru I'm sitting with, because all my own stuff comes up. And it's great. It's awesome. All my own stuff gets to come up. All the ways I hide, all the ways I shrink, all the ways I don't want to be seen, all my discomforts. And I just feel grateful, because it's like clearing it, dropping it, letting it go, seeing it for what it is, and choosing another way, choosing to do exactly what I'm about to share with you. Okay, so let me get to it. So if you want to write in your journal, the first step is just sitting at your meditation space, maybe lighting a candle. I've been enjoying this in the dark, actually, maybe because it's winter solstice here, and finding your center, taking a few breaths, closing your eyes. Once you find that you're dialed into a pretty neutral place where you're just feeling yourself connected to your heart beating, you're not locked in your mind thinking, and you can breathe, and you're functioning in this state of presence with your breath moving in and out, like you're focusing on the inhale and the exhale. You're comfortable, you're settled into your seat. Now there's an opportunity to basically trace through your whole year, and you might want to do this before you sit. Write down all the times this past year that you got snagged emotionally, that you got caught, that you were in a state of blame, blaming yourself or blaming another person or shaming yourself, being upset about a situation, thinking that you failed, thinking something should have gone a different way, any fights or battles you experienced, and they could be really, really subtle, like trying on a dress or a pair of pants or whatever, and that dress being too loose or too fitted. Maybe you feel too skinny or too fat or whatever. So having those slight assaults on the body are an example of this. They're a smaller example, but it's like anything that you were fighting against or judging as wrong, okay? And just write those down, because that's what's creating the suffering. What's happening is not where the suffering is. Even if it's a war, even if it's a famine, yes, there is suffering, right? There's suffering associated with those things. But I'm talking about the mental the starved soul. The soul can be fed even when the body is starving, okay? And the way the soul needs to be fed and the soul needs to be awakened is by dropping the judgment and the story on what is, the battle on what is. And this can be so hard, right? It can be so challenging because look at what's happening in the world today. And it's nothing new. I mean, look throughout the last many thousands of years, we just have a lot of news access right now, but there's just always been struggle in the human experience. And that's the nature of it. And so the real way or the task, like Rumi speaks of, to that space of love, it's not about controlling our outer world to make it perfect, because believe me, it doesn't happen, right? When you observe life long enough, it's impossible for things to be perfect all the time. It's just not the nature of the human experience. And that's a beautiful thing to wake up to. It's like, oh, yeah, I can definitely expand my life and do what feels good, and recognize that life is always changing. We cannot control that. That's what creates the suffering. Like Byron Katie said, you fight with reality and you'll lose every single time. But what we can do is we can drop the fight against it, and we can drop this idea that we even know what's right and wrong from a higher altitude. How do we know that the most tragic things aren't the best, most auspicious things in the long run? I mean, there's so many examples of this in my own life and in my clients' lives, where the most challenging of circumstances led to the most fruitful. I wrote a whole book about it, The Diamond Process. So it's important to remember this, And so with this, just tracking anywhere that, like even that little small assault to the body, saying, oh, you're too fat or you're too skinny, that hurts. It hurts the body every time we do that. It hurts another person every time we blame them. It hurts ourselves every time we shame ourselves as not being smart enough, confident enough, wealthy enough, whatever enough. It's painful, and it's a sleepwalk, So just track all those little things. And this is not about making you wrong. It's the total opposite. When you're tracking these things, this is about looking at them. And as you trace through them from January to now, once you've written them all down, that might be helpful. Then like literally from that centered place of breath and presence, walk through them in your mind's eye, and walk through that fight with somebody and just literally see it. Oh, wow, it happened. There's no way to change it. It happened. So there's no point in judging it as wrong. It happened. It is what it is. It was what it was. So then you just walk through that experience from this place of altitude like a witness, watching it neutrally. And notice what the judgment was. Oh, he shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, she's an whatever. And literally, poof, drop it like a coat, like a dusty coat. Imagine yourself dropping that baggage, that weight, like a coat or a sack, like a bag, whatever works for you. And then move on to the next memory and bless that memory by surrendering the judgment that you've placed on top of it. And then move on to the next snagging moment, anything that snagged you. It's like, oh God, oh, that happened. Oh God, that was painful. Oh, okay. But now witness it without the fight against it. Wow, that happened. And ask yourself, can I drop the judgment on this? Can I drop the blame? Can I drop the resentment? Can I drop the belief that I even know what's right? in this situation. And just drop it and come back to your breath and just witness it. It's like, oh, this was your year. Wow, miracle. Like just letting go any of the story that's been on top of it. You might even do this with the positive experiences. Woohoo, I published a book. How amazing. I'm amazing. I'm just going to walk through that and see like, wow, I published a book. There's Veronica turning in her manuscript, having it printed, making it available, publishing the book, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Walk through the next event. Boom. Ooh, that happened. Wow. Okay. Just walk through your entire year from this place of neutrality and drop the coats of judgment, right or wrong, until you arrive at December 31st or whatever day it is for you today. Whew, and feel yourself clear of all of the judgments on this past year and just deep, deep, deep presence with where you are in this moment. That all of those steps led to where you are right now. And feel the lightness of your being. Feel the truth of who you are rather than the idea of who you think you are and who you think you have to be and who you think others need to be. And just deep, 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 deep return to that place that you started your meditation, which is simply breathing, letting go into the breath, into the body. And it's like you walked through your entire year neutrally. And you arrived at the place that you started at the beginning of your meditation, which is here and now. You actually never left. Your mind left to go to the past to do this work. But here we are again in this moment. And so this practice I've been doing on a regular basis every night. It's a really powerful evening meditation. I might record it and send that out. But it's a really powerful evening meditation just to walk through your day and notice. Like I notice the littlest, you start to notice the minutia, like the little things. Like, oh, when that person bumped into me by accident, I was like, ah, oh, what an idiot, or something horrible like that. It's like, really? Really? So it's becoming awake instead of letting the ego and the critical mind rule unconsciously the show. And it's not about blaming the judgments or blaming oneself for having negative judgments or positive judgments. It's just about simply being awake to them, seeing them, and then letting them go and moving forward. I notice when I do this with my day from start to finish, I finish in this place of wholeness, oneness, truth, breath, just this. And I'm able to see life right in front of me, all the beauty, all the magic, everywhere. Because I'm no longer burdened by the sleep in my eyes or those like weights, those suitcases. And then it's a lot easier to play. So I hope that works for you. Just to recap, number 1, sit in your meditation space. Number 2, take a few deep breaths, find your center, however it is that you do that. Number 3, with your eyes closed, just track from the start of the year all the way through to the present day, all of the places that you move through this past year, and move through them with neutrality, completely dropping the right and wrong, completely dropping the blame, the shame, any of it, and just simply choose to be awake, to see it with neutral eyes. I like to say seeing it through diamond eyes, the diamond self's eyes. And notice what happens when you start to build that muscle of equanimity and neutrality, trusting and knowing that life is evolving, it's moving, it's just happening, it is what it is. And having a judgment on it is the way that we stay asleep, and having full embrace and awakefulness, awareness of it, is the way that we walk through life wide-eyed like a kid, curious, spontaneous, and appreciative of the magic that is happening every single moment. When we say pray for a miracle, ultimately that miracle is a mindset. When the mind changes, everything else changes. Just like Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So my prayer for all of us is that we continue to rise up and elevate. I call this meditation actually the elevate meditation. And it's like, can we elevate in consciousness while being fully rooted on the ground as leaders of love together? All right, my friends, with all of my love, Here's to an amazing 2016, whether you are in the snow or you are in the sunshine or both. May you just know that you're an amazing soul and trust your heart, follow it with reckless abandon, and just embrace this moment like it is the most beautiful lover, because it is. This moment never leaves. This present moment, what's right in front of you right now. This video, whatever you hear in your environment. For me, it's the snow and the sun and the trees and my heart beating and my feet on the ground. This moment is the beloved. It is the beloved in form. And that's the ultimate marriage, you know? It's just a miracle. So, thank you so much for this extraordinary year together. And I love you with all my heart. And I look forward to sharing 2016 together in the most elevated, amazing way possible. Okay? Mwah! Happy New Year! Woo!